Hello everybody. I'm the Worm. I'm back with Raging Loop, and now's the time to get serious, because today is the day we're going to make a pretty big decision, I feel. Currently we're at the main menu and not the game itself, mostly because I wanted to chat a bit, because I think there was a lot to talk about, actually. We're going to be doing something I probably should have done after the end of the first feast in this route. But, we're going to do it now. We got a chance to hear a bit extra information from Haruaki and hear his thoughts. And I also got to hear a lot of stuff from you guys, and so I'll be talking about that as well. I'm sure if I were a bit more creative, or if I had knowledge of more certain programs, I'd be able to illustrate this better, but I don't. You know what I miss? In Umineko, do you remember, if anyone's played that here, they had you could just, in the menu, there was the whole cast that was displayed. I wish I had that, because I'd be able to sort of point people out and, that sort of thing. But, we're going to work with what we have. So, we have a decision to make. That decision is to decide for Haruaki, in his role as the snake, who does he want to learn the role of? And we have 3 people to choose from. We have Takumi, Misato, and Mamiya. Those are our 3 that we have to choose from. There are a couple people I wish were on that list, but we'll get into that. So before we actually make the decision, a few things we need to talk about. First things first, let's talk about the vote, because I think this is very important, and this was brought up by a couple of you, actually. Let's go over this vote that happened, okay? And let's try to get a deep understanding of everyone's stated reason for what they did before we move forward. Okay, I wrote out all the results of the... Basically, before starting this, I wrote out all the voting results from the feast. And then I wrote down who my probable innocents were and who my probable suspects were. So, let's go down the voting results. First was Old Man. Old Man voted for Haruaki, and we have no stated reason. So I just have question marks there. We basically, he's been a wild card this whole time. Maybe there's a method to his madness, but I haven't been able to decipher it thus far, if there is. But we know that he's wrong. Haruaki's not a wolf, he's a snake, so again, I don't know if it's random or not. We did last time get some statements that might indicate that he was part of the original feast that was years ago, that Kanzo was a part of, and that might have killed off the workers and might have killed off Haru's family, maybe. And we're suspecting the survivors of that were Kanzo, Gensan, and the Old Man. So, if he's a survivor of a feast, I don't think we should underestimate him. But in terms of discovering what his role is this time, I don't really have anything to go on for that. So that was Old Man. Next we have Kanzo, and we got to hear his stated reason. He voted for Rikako, and his stated reason was that Rikako was the easiest to vote for besides the outsiders, because basically she's one of the family heads, and thus it wouldn't be the only person who'd get antagonized from that. It would be Misato. No one else would really be upset. I guess Mako would be, but Kanzo doesn't really care about that. Um, and we can, I guess, trust that that is his actual, that is his genuine reason, because we know he's a monkey. So we know he's innocent. So I guess we'll just take that at face value. Next, we have Tai. She voted for Yoshitsugu, and her stated reason was that she was following Hanzo's lead in not voting for the outsiders. And again, that's for the outsiders specifically. Haruaki promised to get intelligence, and Mamiya needed to check if she had a guardian, so they were off the table. So she didn't vote for any of the outsiders, and specifically for Yoshitsugu, it was his bad attitude that led her to vote for him. I think I'll talk about Tai a bit more when we get to the suspects. So let's just keep moving on for now. Next, we have Takumi, and Takumi voted for Mako, which I think is somewhat interesting. His stated reason for that is that she is an outsider, and Yeah, okay, good. Yeah, so his stated reason is that she is an outsider who happened to get here at a, inopportune time, but she's an outsider that isn't Mamiya or Haruaki, so thus, I guess he thinks she's fair game because of that. I think it's real interesting then that, considering what Haruaki later said about how Rikako was... Basically, Rikako's strategy during the feast was to subtly indicate that Mako might have had a guardian. I think it's interesting then that Takumi voted for Mako. Of course, this is... He got to vote... I'm going down the order of who voted first. So this was before Rikako got a chance to vote for herself. We'll get to that. So it might not be the case that Takumi was reading into that strategy. It might just be his genuine idea. So I could sort of see either way. But considering Haruaki suspects Mako of having a guardian, the fact that Takumi voted for her, kind of interesting. Next up, we have Kaori. Kaori voted for Kinosuke. And her reasoning was she asked Yasunaga who he was going to vote for, and it was going to be Misato. Simple as that. We will talk about Kaori more when I get to suspects. And I know that a couple of you actually talked about her in the comments. I'll get to that as well. Next, we have Yasunaga, who, as I just stated, is voting for Misato. And his stated reason, was that he has suspicion of the village heads. And, considering how shifty Higuchi was, and, the supplies that got sent to the feast year after year, all that stuff, I think he's right to be suspicious. And he chose Misato over Rikako because Rikako had arrived, I think he said 3 years ago. So in this instance, Misato is the newcomer of the family heads, and so he suspects him more because of that. Okay, and we know Yasunaga is an innocent this time, specifically because he has a guardian, a monkey. So I think we can trust that explanation. Next, we have Mochi, and he voted for Misato. And his stated reasoning went something like, well, it looks like it's going to be a contest between Rikako and Misato. And Rikako's a girl, so I'll vote for Misato. Or Kyo. So, that's kind of on brand for Mochi. I don't have much else to say about that, but I do think Mochi's going to be very important, because we'll get to this when we get to suspects. Mochi is the only one, excuse me, 1 second. Mochi is the only one to switch his vote, and we'll go over that in detail later, so keep that in mind. Next is Yoshitsugu. Yoshitsugu voted for Rikako. He explains that he wanted to vote for Tai, but but decided to vote for Rikako because, one, she's a family head who, you know, he hates for obvious reasons, and because he wanted to contribute to actually hanging someone, since if he voted for Tai, she wasn't a very likely hanging target. So, you know, he actually put some thought into his vote. Excuse me. Let's move on. Chiemi's next, and she voted for Yoshitsugu, specifically to punish him for his bad attitude. So, actually, funnily enough, fairly similar to Tai and her reasoning. Yeah, that's the reason. We'll talk a bit more about Chiemi in a bit. Let's just move on with the votes. Next is Haru. Haru's an interesting one in that we actually, well, I'll just say this. Okay, so Haru voted for Haruaki. And she's an interesting one in that we actually don't get a stated reason. She does not say anything about why she voted for Haruaki. And Haruaki is the one that suggests, oh, it's because you don't trust me yet. You know, because he's a new rival. Which makes sense, but again, she doesn't say anything. It's just Haruaki saying that. But I think that's reasonable to say. We already know from last time how nervous, suspicious, and perhaps mentally disturbed she is. So that could just be fair enough. Next one is Rikako, and Rikako made a big play here. She voted for herself in a bid to protect Mako, but also to perhaps play the system, where we would get those sort of tie votes. And yeah, so we'll just say that. We'll talk a bit more about that gambit next in the next section. Next is Mako. Excuse me. Ugh. Mako voted for Yoshitsugu because, in her view, he was bullying Rikako. Fair enough. Good on you, Mako. Got to stick up for your girl. Next is Haruaki and Mamiya. They both voted for Mako, and they voted for her for the same reason, because it would get to the tie vote that would allow them to prevent a hanging. Sorry about that. My throat is so dry. Okay. Next thing. Okay. So that's all the first round of voting. Then we know that because it was a let me see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5-way tie between Haruaki, Rikako, Yoshitsugu, Mako, and Misato. It went to the next round. Dang it. It went to the next round, And in the ensuing round, all the people that were voted for didn't get to vote again. Everyone kept their vote the same except Mochi. Mochi changed his vote from, let me see. He switched it to Rikako, and his stated reason was it would be interesting, or something like that. That something like this probably doesn't happen a lot, so he did it. Now here's the problem. That is on brand for Mochi to do something wacky and crazy like that. But the big issue with that is that it can be viewed as an action to help wolves. Of course, by that logic, so could the actions of Haruaki and Mamiya and, you know, all the people who basically enabled the tie. Because, well, the idea is we don't want people to hang. We don't want people to die in general. But in the context of the game, this is the humans basically passing their turn and giving the wolves the initiative. So this was stated by Kanzo and Takumi. They both said, sorry, let me hang on. I had water, I drank it, and it's not helping. 1 second. Okay, sorry about that. It's been a little while for me, but luckily I paused the recording, and so now I'm back. Hopefully I won't have to interrupt myself so often. Okay, let's continue where we were, which is where? Where was I just now? We talked about Mochi switching his vote. Yes, okay. We talked about Mochi switching his vote, so we're done with talking about the vote. Let's move on to the people. Okay, so I have two sections here. The people I think are probably innocent, and then the people who are probably, or not, people who are probably innocent, and then the suspect list. So let's start with the people I think are innocent. Now, of course, we have the very obvious ones, the ones we know for sure. And that's three people, Haruaki, Kanzo, Yasunaga. That's because Haruaki's a snake and Kanzo, Yasunaga are monkeys. There's really, you don't need to say anything more about that. Next are two, I'm kind of ordering this from most innocent to, less likely, but next two that are more likely to be innocent are probably Meiko and Rikako. And this is because of the strategy that Haruaki has described, where it seems like Rikako's, her particular self-sacrifice play was all to put emphasis on Meiko and to try and communicate that Meiko had a guardian of some sort, which Haruaki is thinking is probably the spider. So we're going to go ahead, at least in the absence of anything else, I think I'll probably just follow along with that for now. So Meiko and Rikako are probably innocent. Next is Chiemi. And in particular, this is also a self-sacrifice play, but this is also, Haruaki also believes it's because of her self-sacrifice play, but her play in particular was not as, planned out as Rikako's. She did it first. And basically, in terms of, the game we're playing, the things she was saying and the play that she did basically don't make sense if she's a wolf. So I think I probably agree with that. And so I have her on the innocent list for now. Now, I have also on this list Yoshitsugu, and this is because of his behavior. Specifically, the behavior that he shows following the feast, at night, we see him going out and about to try and fight the wolves. And we can infer that this is probably what got him killed last time. So, considering he just seems to be acting as his usual crazy self, and considering what he's doing, this night, I'm going to say Yoshitsugu's probably innocent. Okay, so that's 7 people I think are probably innocent. Now, let's talk about the suspects then. These are people where I'm not sure of any of them in particular, but they're all suspects. Okay. And I'll give a reasoning for each of these. So, on these, I don't think I've ordered these in any particular way. First is Takumi. Now, on the one hand, we already talked about this a bit. He voted for Mako, who we're thinking was probably an innocent. Again, this was before Rikako made her self-sacrifice play, so Takumi might not be reading into that. Still, the fact that Mako's probably innocent and Takumi voted for her, I think, is, potentially something. But another big reason for Takumi is the fact that he is I've kind of ordered this in a weird way. We have 2 leaders. So Yasunaga and Kanzo are leaders, and then I kind of wrote for a few people sub-leader. So people who are not at the top, but have influence with enough people that if either Yasunaga or Kanzo are removed, they'd be able to step in. So Takumi is a sub-leader, and he's also a mediator between a few of the different people. And so in that case, this is going along with Haraki's thoughts that we, at this stage of the game, we need to be thinking about who's most dangerous as a wolf. So that's what's going on for Takumi. Then we have Misato. He's also a bit of a sub-leader. We know that from the last route that he will certainly attempt to try and take command when others are not. And here's something that's funny. I've read all the comments on the last video, and what's funny to me is of all the people who gave their opinion on who we should pick, for this choice we're going into, pretty much everyone said that Misato, he's just kind of like, he's just being himself. He's probably not a wolf, but he'll probably be a pawn of the wolves, so we probably don't need to check on him because, he's going to be stirring things up regardless. So I just thought it was funny that no one, people disagreed on whether they wanted to pick Takumi or Mamiya, but pretty much everyone was okay with just skipping over him, which I thought was kind of funny. And I concur with that. I think I'm not going to be picking him in the upcoming choice. Next is Tai. She's a suspect, mostly just because, I don't know if she's innocent or not. But I don't really have much to go on. Her reasoning to vote for Yoshitsugu was pretty meh, but again, nothing either way. So I don't really know much. I don't have much to say about Tai. I don't know about her yet. We have Old Man, who's just a wild card. I've no idea. Couldn't tell you. And then okay, let's talk about Kaori first. Kaori's a bit of a interesting one to me. In particular, I think it was, let's see here. Yeah, Unknown Pitfall talked about it a bit. You're thinking Kaori seems a bit more innocent to you now, but For me, I I'd say dang it. Cowrie is interesting to me because I'm sorry about that. Ugh. Okay. Um, her vote in the feast. In particular, she asked Yasunaga to give her advice, and I could believe that's all fine and natural, but I could see a scenario where, as a wolf, she wanted to be seen as deferring to someone who we all knew was a guardian, was a human. I'm not an expert at these sort of mafia werewolf games, so I'm not sure how effective a strategy that is. But I think I could see that as a possibility. Because in that instance, she could make the argument, "Hey, I was just following along with what the innocent people were doing, so I'm innocent too." Yeah, something like that. So, again, I would not say it's enough to condemn her in any way, but it's not enough for me to put her in the probably innocent category. Oh, dang it. Okay. These next two are, I feel, the most important. They're the last two, but they're very important. We've talked a bit about Mochi. And this is something, yes, I also agree very much with Unknown Pitfall here, that Mochi's very suspicious to me. Mostly because he's so clever, and he has a I wouldn't put it past him to utilize his reputation for acting erratic to shield his decisions, and that's sort of what we got when he switched his vote. Again, you could take it either way, that he was just doing what was interesting, or you could take it as it was an action to support the wolves because because it gave them the initiative. So yeah. Okay, let's see. Sorry, I lost my train of thought. Okay, let's move on. The last one to talk about with Mamiya, and Mamiya is it's so tough. She's currently shielded. Dang it. She's currently checking if she has a guardian tonight. But the issue is, either she's going to tell us or not tomorrow, and even if she does, there's no way to trust it. We know that she has motive. She has plenty of motive to either be a wolf or a badger going forward. So look, I'm very unsure about her. Unknown Pitfall voted for Mamiya, which was interesting. Lise just voted for either Takumi or Mamiya. And let's see, Tuli Cannell. I'm hoping I said that right. I think you said I pronounced it right last time. Voted for Takumi. So we have one for Mamiya, one for Takumi, and then one for either. So, That's kind of funny to me. So I have to be the tiebreaker vote here. But yeah, so I thought it was let's actually get into the game now. I thought it was important to go over all that, because I think I said I went back to watch my video to understand all the reasoning for vote, and I myself at the time said we need to keep watch on these votes, and Lise reminded me. Um, so I wanted to make sure we got all that understood about who was voting and why, before we dived back in. So we're going to do that now. Let's see here. Okay. All right. We're at the decision. And as the tiebreaker vote, I'm going to pick Takumi. That's my gut uh, feeling to pick him. Followed, it's a very close second for Isako, just because it seems she's also kind of a wild card, where she's disconnected from the other um, villagers. So I could easily see her being a wolf or badger too. But I want to know what Takumi is. I think that's going to be very important. So we're going to go ahead and do that. Let's see what we get. Okay. I wrote down one of their names, placed the paper next to my pillow, and went to sleep. Okay, I think someone said this. I'm not sure who. Sorry. This could be a situation where, like, when we were going into Kama Fujiyoshi, where we got to go through all the choices fairly quickly. And so, all this whole thing where I asked you guys to give me your arguments, and it might all be kind of silly in retrospect. It might, we might just do all three in a relatively short amount of time. But I'm playing through blind, so I have no way to know how long each of the decisions, how long each of the routes will be. And I think it's good because it allowed me to really dig down and start trying to understand all the arguments and everything that's going on. So, yeah, let's continue on. What is this? What was that? Okay. I see. So this is why. Let me see here. Yeah, so this is what Dennis and Lise were talking about. I have been looking at the keys, but they reiterated to me how you should immediately view the keys upon getting them. So let's do that. That's interesting. The fact that that's how they choose to show that. Where do I... Keys. Here we go. So this is 10. So is this gonna... This will be the explanation. Okay. After obtaining the power of the snake in the feast, I investigated Takumi-san. He is a human. He is a human. All right, let me write that down. All right. That's so crazy to me, actually, thinking about that. Okay, let's write this down. Now, we need to be careful about this, because being a human does not mean he can't be a badger. Confirmed human by snake. Okay. Confirmed human. So our suspects are now... Remember, we need 3 wolves out of this group of people. Misato, Tai, Old Man, Mamiya, Mochi, Kaori. So of those 6, we need 3. I'm Mochi is gonna be at the top of that list for me. For sure, I think. Okay. That's very interesting. Okay, let's see where this goes. Takumi's a human. That's so crazy because he's always like at the top. We have Kanzo, and Yasunaga, and then right below those two, we have Tai, Takumi, Misato for leaders, like the sub leaders. So it's so interesting to me that we have Kanzo, Yasunaga, and Takumi as innocent. I mean, that's pretty, that's a pretty stacked team for the human side, isn't it? As the key said, he could be a potent ally if he doesn't end up being a badger, because the badger comes late, right? We're on the next day. So we might get the badger today. So that's what's tough about this. Like, here's a crazy idea. Rikako is, at least in Haruaki's mind, Rikako protected Mako because she has a guardian. Rikako might just be a human in that case. Could Rikako then become a badger? That's pretty crazy, Like, on the first night they're a firm ally, and then they swap sides the next. It's a bit tough to imagine, but I was informed of my target's affiliation the same way I was given the guardian. That was strange, but it clearly happened, so I had no choice but to accept it. Anyway, it was something I'd predicted. However, what happened this morning certainly wasn't.
Oh! みんな生きとったね.
No way. So, okay. Now here's the thing. We know humans can choose not to hang people. So one would presume that wolves can choose not to kill anyone. But what's another crazy possibility is that the spider, who Haruaki thinks is Mako, could have actually saved whoever was targeted. Oh man, can we even make a guess as to who that is? Who would be? I can't remember. I can't remember last episode. Did Haruaki make a guess as to who would be a target? I think a couple of you tried to make a guess. Let me see. I thought someone did. Maybe not. Man, I think I misread it then, or I misremembered. Okay. Oh man. The question is, how does Mako understand her role? You would think that in that case, maybe Rikako told her who to choose for the night. Okay, this is interesting. Yeah. No one had died last night.
さあ、しっかり食べてくださいね.
While this seems to be good news, aren't we sort of stuck in the same position as last time? Like, as humans, who do we vote for now? That's tough. We don't have any new information. Well, we have new... Okay, Haruaki's gonna have to spin a good yarn here. He's gonna have to... Because he promised to get information. We're gonna have to come up with something. 1 second. I need to pause. Okay, I'm back. Alright. The people in the dining hall were far more cheerful than yesterday morning. It was obvious why. Not one of their neighbors had died. The betrayal they'd been worried about ended up not happening at all. Some were probably even beginning to hope that the traitors, the wolves, didn't exist at all.
だから言ったろう、ヤス、不妻子。こんなバカらしいことに付き合う奴はいねえんだって。
Takumi-san, who put the unity of Yasumizu above all else, was especially cheerful.
まあ、そうかもね。
Yasunaga-kun made a vague smile. It seemed like he was afraid to kill the good vibes here. Hanzoshi, however, was probably just holding back from doing just that. Kinosuke Shiri looked like he was on the verge of killing the mood with some of his pessimism.
よかったよかった本当に皆様よくぞご無事で
Yeah, I mean, I could definitely hope that the spider was able to foil the wolves, but a part of me is really worried that this is part of the wolves' plan, especially if it's Mochi. You know, if he was able to, he has some clever idea, and so he said, "Okay, let's hold off on a night," because there's not a time limit, right? They could take as many days as they need, I suppose.
そうでしょうとも
However, he held his tongue, probably out of consideration for Tai-san and Rokako-san, who were crying in relief.
おい、
何かな？
Yoshitsugu-kun, who was washing the dishes with me, called out to me with a stern voice.
なんだよこれ。何も起きねえじゃねえか。
何言ってるの？すごいことが起きたんだよ。
はあ？
今日の宴でいろいろわかるよ。泡だらけだ。やり直し。
よしくんがお手伝いか。もう何年も見てなかった光景だね。
Did I? Oh, you know my list. I forgot to put Haru in the list of suspects. Man, she was just so quiet during the feast. I guess I forgot about her there. Sorry. It just occurred to me. So, -1 for Takumi, +1 for Haru. So we have 7 potential suspects here. Misato, Tai, Old Man, Mamiya, Mochi, Kaori, Haru. Okay, those are our wolf suspects right now.
うるせえな知恵ね。皿に指で頑張れ頑張れとか後つけてんじゃねえよ。
あ、バレた？でも残念。指じゃなくて唇でした。関節キスは約束だぞ。
うわ、きったね。
ひどい。
知恵ね私も引くわ外で一体何勉強してきてるの
知恵姉のオリジナルだから。
まったく知恵姉は不潔だな
てめえは何してんだ、カモシだ。
僕も手伝いだレロラロン
汚れを舐めとってんじゃねえ。
俺もやめるんだ。その需要はない。
The dining hall sure was noisy. Haru-chan even screamed a little.
また見てくる。
With those words, Kanzo-san left. And so, we ended up spending an uneventful morning in the dining hall together. I wasn't the only one absent-mindedly watching the clock. I wondered if she'd seen anything on her stomach when she'd checked. It felt like she was waiting for the feast to start, which made it seem like she had something to declare. When Konzo-san returned and declared the start of the feast, I felt like there would be trouble. So we're just, we're skipping the whole day, basically. No one was against it when he said it, but it turned out that the trouble was just delayed.
もういいんじゃねえか、おやさん。
Yeah, so now we're... I mean, again, this goes into a weird... Is this a wolf strategy? So what if we get into a scenario where the wolves just don't do anything, and so everyone thinks, okay, false alarm, and then suddenly we start, you know, bending the rules and the corruption gets us. Of course, that sort of thing would probably only be able to work once, but it would still be, at least, it'd be a way for the wolves to get an advantage, I guess. Takumi-san said that instead of drinking from the cup.
なんだ、匠。
こんなことをやんなくてもよ、狼は人を殺す気はねえだろ。
Of course he would be the one to suggest that.
君はそこまで楽天的かね。事態は全く予断を許さぬ状況だ。
何がだよ。
昨晩はたまたま雲が指定したものを狼が襲おうとしたから守られただけだ。
Yeah, if the wolves have to pick someone, then yes, that is what happened. That was exactly it. Yasunaga-kun, Haru-chan, and even Tai-chan had turned hostile last time. It was best to assume that those with the wolf's blessing would accept it and begin the murders.
自分を除けば雲が加護を使う対象として選べるのは14人。14分の1は100分率にして 7% 程度。その行幸に感謝しつつ、昨日進め損ねた宴による狼べらしを進めるべきではないのかね。
お前、狼にされた連中が仕事を拒否した確率が 7% より低いっていうのかよ。
Probably. Considering just how crazy Yasunaga, Tai, and Haru seemed, yeah.
ああ、0% だと思っているね。
お前、やっぱ何か知ってんじゃないのか。今何が起きてんのかよ。
ん？それは知らんが。
じゃあなんでそんなことが言い切れんだ。
そんなに事態を甘く見ていないというだけだがね。
いいか。人間ってのは何もなきゃ平和な生き物なんだ。
ふん、性善説かね。
なんだか知らねえが、平和ってのはな、乱したら危険だから保たれんだ。守ってる限り大多数が安全だ。現に昨日の宴じゃ誰もくくられなかっただろうが、あの時にもあの場には狼がいたんだろう。
それは希望的観測だと言うんだ。単に票を集め損ねて失敗しただけかもしれんだろうが。
おっちゃんを守ろうとして票を散らしたのかもしれないしね。
Everyone stared at Mochi in surprise.
モッチ、どういうこと？
いや、僕とやっすんと香りママがおっちゃんに入れた後、誰も入れなかったじゃん。あと1票くらいは入りそうなもんなのに入んなかったよね。となると狼がかばい合ったのかもしれないじゃん。
じゃあそれより下に狼が？
待ってよモッチ、私が狼だっていうの？いやいや、僕は単におっちゃんに突っかかりたかっただけだ。ごめん。
Mochi had reached the same conclusion I had. I couldn't tell if he was that sharp or if it was just so simple anyone could figure it out.
鹿持ちのうかつな発言を真に受けないでいただきたいがね。そんな可能性があるのも確か。楽観視はすべきではない。
I mean, it's an interesting question. I think I had this thought of my own. You know, Mochi was the only one to change his vote. Why is that the case? If everyone could change it, Why wouldn't someone else just change their vote to if they really wanted to hang someone? So he's saying, so basically Chikamochi is saying, there's wolves among those that came after. So basically in that second round of voting, he's saying, okay.
だったら人が死んでもねえのに人を殺すってのかてめえは。
もう死んでるって言ってるでしょ。
Mamiya-san's sudden shouts attracted everyone's attention.
なんなの？あなたの中では橋本さんは人間扱いじゃないの？
うるせえな。ありゃ確かにひどい事件だったが、俺らの中の誰かが殺したわけじゃないだろうが。
どうしてそう言い切れるのよ。
狼の殺しと汚れは違うって言ってんだろうが。
匠兄ちゃん、ちょっといい？
なんだよ、ちえみ。
私もさ、人を殺したいなんて思ってないけど、でもちょっと心配はあるんだよ。神内様の掟に従う限り、私たちが狼に対抗するには宴でくくるしかないって。その手段を放棄してしまったら、私たち全滅するしかないんじゃないかって。
いや、だからな。
だからその手段を放棄させようとする人こそが狼だって、そう思い出す人が出てくるかもしれないって。
Takumi-san looked around and noticed the chill in the air about him. He noticed that a certain worry had began mixing with a certain suspicion, I think is what they mean to say.
肝臓じいちゃん、
今日はくくる。さもなくば狼の味方よ。
ちえみも殺したくないんだけど。
雨が匠は甘すぎる。
ほら、こういう向きもあるってこと。
じゃあどうするってんだ。昨日決まらなかったもんが今日決まるのかよ。
昨日とは違えだろ匠に。外の姉ちゃんとイカレ野郎が言うことがあるはずだ。
そうですね。彼らの言い分を聞いて、それでもみんなが殺人を拒否するならもう仕方ない話だですね、肝臓さん。
そんなことは起きん。
じゃあいい。じゃあとにかく言ってみろよ。それがなきゃ何も始まらないっつうの。
じゃあ私が話します。私は蛇のカゴ車だった。
Well, we were right to be suspicious of Mamiya. Huh?
本当ですか？昨日調べたらちゃんと印があったって言うんですか？
ええ、そうよ。だからきちんと蛇のカゴで一人の正体を調べたわよ。
There was no way.
しかし、だからといって今明かすのは危険ではないのかね。蛇のカゴは極めて重要な。
それを踏まえても開示するべき結果が得られたので話してるんですよ。山脇多江さんは狼よ。
The mood of the feast suddenly did a complete 180.
こやつは狼よ。あんたが狼だって言ってるのよ、こっちは。
They screamed and were about to charge at each other. The others had to hold them back.
ばあちゃん、やめろ。誰もばあちゃんを疑ったりはしね
え。What's the play here, Haruaki? Oh my goodness.
間宮さんやめてよ。これじゃ助かる者も助からない。
Strange fervor filled the small hall. I was getting really uncomfortable here.
他に蛇のカゴを名乗る方はおられませんか？
Do we dare?
何を言うのよ。
叫ばないでください。あなたは本物かもしれないけど、だったら冷静にしてればいいんだ。僕らが間宮さんを信じるには、他に蛇の加護者が名乗り出ないことが条件になる。いませんか、蛇は。
What was my best option here? Since I was the real Snake, she was definitely a fake who was clearly talking with ill intent. That meant I had to out myself. Otherwise, she would take control of the situation. That was the right thing to do. The right way to go about it. I knew that well. But I couldn't help but feel that I was in an extremely difficult situation here. Oh my goodness. I've actually, let's see. Okay, I'm actually coming up on an hour now, so I left one cliffhanger and I've reached another. I need to think about this. Yeah, okay. This is good. This is good. I'll have time to think about it now. And so will all of you. So, if you want to comment on this, you can. Oh boy. So, I guess we've learned two things from our decision, or my decision to pick Takumi. Takumi's a human, and in the preceding feast, it looks like we've learned something about Mamiya. So, 2 for the price of 1, maybe. Okay, let's stop. Okay. Things are getting crazy. Things are getting crazy. Okay, I've been The Worm. This has been Raging Loop. I hope to see you next time. Stay well.